So having lack of specificity is a big problem. So you don't want to be too broad. You also want to have enough specificity so you actually know what's the intent action to take here. You don't want to have excessive complexity. So having like this long, complex paragraph that are not easy to understand and follow. What I would recommend is that if you're writing your rules, make sure to put it into ChatGPT or Cloud and try to have it rewrite it in a way that is understandable for the LLM. One prompt that I like to use is rewrite this for an LLM so it's easy to read and follow. And finally, you don't want to have conflicting rules, because if you have a rules that say not to do something and later on you have another rules that say to actually do it, it's just going to confuse the AI. It's not going to do what you want, and you're going to complain about having an intended result. So if you want to make sure that you don't have these kind of conflicts, make sure to read all your rules and make sure that there's no conflict in it. Or again, use something like ChatGPT or Cloud and have the LLM double check your rules and making sure that there's no rules that are contradictory that might introduce conflict into that rules logic. Now, what are the best practices? So number one, you want to specify your technology stack. I always like to say what technology stack I'm using. So if I'm using Next.js or, for example, Ruby and so on and so on, you want to specify that. This way, your LLM has a context of what kind of technology you're using. So in my case, most of my application, I've been using an instruction folder where I have all my technology stack as different instruction, but you can actually do that within the rule itself and then give those the stack to the LLM and let them know what kind of stack you're using in this application. You can also specify your coding standards and style. It's really good for doing that. You can also do naming convention, which is often ignored but extremely important, because if you don't do that, when it's generating the code, you might end up with code that is generated with different naming convention. And if your code doesn't have consistency, then it makes it hard to read. So to make sure that it's easier to read and that they follow like the best practice and naming convention, make sure to specify that inside of your rules. I'll show you in a little bit one of the resources where people have written different rules, and you'll notice that a lot of the pattern that you'll see is that people are specifying how they want the AI to write function sometimes and all the naming convention that they have. Then number four, syntax and formatting. You want to make sure to specify rules related to that because you want to make sure that they format the code as you want or the best practice that you want. What I personally like to do is to follow the best practice of the language that I'm using. So I will first generate the best practices for syntax and formatting for that specific framework or language, and then I will add that as rules inside of my cursor rules. Number five, you want to make sure that you have rules for UI and styling. So for example, I'm often use Tailwind CSS and Shadcn UI. So I will specify that inside of it. So this way, when I'm asking it to generate different component, I'm not ending up with a component that has a completely different look and style of what I am actually expecting. So adding that inside of your rules help prevent that. Number six, you want to have key convention. Just this can be your preferences, stuff that you want to make sure that you follow, convention that can be based on the language best practices and other things of the sort. Some of my convention are as follow. For example, I have, if you detect units code, ask for permission, confirmation before removing it. I have do not remove console log unless explicitly requested. Do not remove comment unless explicitly requested. So I have things of the sort to make sure that you follow those convention and doesn't, so that I don't end up with an intended result that will actually like mess up my code in a way that I don't want it to be. All right, so there are different resources that I found for you guys that you can use if you want to use cursor rules and you don't know where to get started. So there's a couple of really, really cool resources. The number one tool that I found was
every moment
awesome
spent
cursor
on
resource.
coding or
So this one right here
trading
is a GitHub project that actually
Let's
covers
channel that
all the
energy
different
into
types
productive work.
of cursor rules that you can use. It's a very extensive, exhaustive list of different rules. You have like Next.js. So just by clicking on it, you'll see some rules that people have written for some of those framework of if I were to type React, I can find all the cursor rules related to React or TypeScript. So I personally use Next.js quite a lot. So I would click here and then I can see the rules that were written for that specifically. That's one example and one tool that you can use. The other one that I like to use is cursor lists. So cursor lists allow you to actually find different rules. This is a directory, so you can actually go here and, for example, if you wanted to find rules for JavaScript, you can click JavaScript over here and it will filter all of it. Then it'll show you all the rules and you can just copy those rules and use it for your own projects. You can make sure to read them. So for example, this one say code style and structure. You can see that it's following a similar pattern as the one that I mentioned. So there's naming convention, use kebab case for directory, use camel case for variable and function, and so on and so on. So this is super helpful, especially if you're non-technical and you want to make sure to follow some of the best practices that all the developers out there have written for people to use. And those are like oftentimes rules that those developers themselves are using for their own projects. So it's super helpful and help you save quite a lot of time. The next one is cursor directory. So cursor directory is very similar. You have a list of different projects. For example, there's rules for Superbase. You can click here, then look at the rules, see if it's something that is convenient for your own project, and then copy it and paste it inside of your cursor rule. So as simple as clicking here, going here, and pasting it right there. And you have the rules ready to go. The next one is cursor rules agents. So this is an agent that I found that actually allow you to write a prompt and have it generate a rule for you. For earlier today, I typed, I am making an Next.js app with Tailwind CSS and Shadcn UI to test it, and it generated all the rules for me. So this is something that you can use if you're not familiar with how to write rules, but you want to have a really quick solution where those rules can be generated for you. And like I said, this is just a prompt, so you can literally just type the kind of rules you want it to write. So I can say, for example, write me rule for Ruby on Rails project, follow best practices and best convention. And I can just type that, and it's going to do its things, work behind the scene, and generate all the rules for me so I can use it for my own project. As you can see, it's generating one right now. So I'm getting like, I have it covered in code family structure, following the best practicing, naming convention, Ruby on Rails usage, say use Ruby 3.x feature when appropriate, so the latest version of Ruby as much as possible, syntax and formatting, and so on. And so on. So yeah, that's pretty good. So this is something that you could use, for example, for your own project. So again, if you don't know how to write those rules, you can just literally use this, speak with the agent, tell it what you need to do, and it will break down those rules for you and make it simple enough to follow. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to check out this video, because in it I explain how I give more context to the AI in order to make sure that it doesn't make an
That's a good video, bro. Good for him. Good for him. I learned something. Let's go check out this other one Trent was talking about. Copy link here. I'm gonna use the easiest website here put out
Te
here.
encanta tu zona. Pero si viene un gran evento,
Cursor
¿prefieres
list.
salir de esa zona?